What's up, y'all? It's Clapback Culture. I am your co-host, Julia Jessie with Converge Media, alongside my partner in crime, Mr. Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Good evening, brethren. What's up?
Yes, we're back. Feels good to be back.
It does feel good to be back. We had the week off, you guys, and so we are back refreshed and feeling good. So glad to see some of our regulars viewing and some new faces hating in the comments. Good morning.
That was fast.
That was quick. We hadn't even talked about nothing, but that's all right. We're gonna get right into it because it was a week. It has been a week. It's been a heavy media week as well, Mike. So
there's a lot going on.
I know. New things that's happening, y'all. The CDC is talking about it's okay and all good for women who are pregnant and or nursing to get vaccinated now, you know. I think we got an overlay of that. Yeah, we do. You guys, the CDC is now recommending, not only recommends, but is recommending that women who are pregnant or nursing go ahead and jump out there and get that vaccine. In a statement from the CDC director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, she's quoted on NBC News by saying that the vaccines are safe and effective, and it has never been more urgent to increase vaccinations as we face the highly transmittable Delta variant and see severe outcomes from COVID-19 among unvaccinated pregnant people. So this is the new advice. It also applies, like I said, to women who are nursing or women that are planning to get pregnant. It is now recommended by the CDC to get that dose. What do you think about the updated guidelines?
I mean, I think the CDC is doing what they should do. That's how science works. You know, you learn and you adjust. We're in a weird time right now where we got a lot of people who want to hold scientists to their very first observation, and then anything that comes after that, they want to just be dismissive of. I think it's well known that when they did the original studies of Pfizer and Moderna, they didn't include pregnant women, so they didn't have that data. But since then, the CDC has done a study with 2,500 women. They've also paired that with like real world experience of like tens of thousands of pregnant women. And what they found is that there's no serious side effects. And there are cases where like the newborn babies can also benefit from having that vaccination as well. So they're giving the green light to the pregnant women. And, you know, the Delta variant is going crazy, especially down south. So, I mean, if you're pregnant, they're saying it's safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that you mentioned, and I think we talked about this a little bit before, Mike, is that, you know, science is ever changing and there's evolution to it, right? And we cannot begin to feel that science is so rigid, but really it's flexible. And as more studies take place and as time goes on, we're going to see that the guidelines are going to be updated for the coronavirus. In fact, the CDC made this guidance change due to new data that they had, and they showed that there wasn't an increase amongst 2,500 women that were a part of this clinical trial after they received their first dose of either the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine, and that there wasn't any risk of miscarriages or any side effects that would affect the pregnancy. So we're going to see a continuous amount of updates as time goes on, and hopefully in the positive direction. So more updates. We see that the Senate approved a $3.5 trillion budget, a bipartisan vote, y'all, that would expand not only healthcare, but education and climate initiatives. Let's run that clip, Cuddy, and then when we come back, we're going to break down what's in that plan.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 49, and the concurrent resolution as amended is agreed to. The Majority Leader.
Now, Senate Democrats have just took a massive step towards restoring the middle class in the 21st century and giving more Americans, the chance to get there.
Mitch McConnell is funny. He had to throw a dab in there. He even was like, "Can we get some order?" So this is the Senate passed this sweeping budget resolution along party lines early this Wednesday that would make it possible for new expansions in Medicare and education, environmental measures, and so much. So, Cuddy, let's break down what this means. What is this budget? What's this plan? So the budget framework includes instructions to committees, right? And so there's going to be specific spending targets. Here are just some of the major elements that we found. Thank you to npr.org for some of these highlights. So, I'm sorry, Cuddy, can we put that back up? Thank you. So look, y'all, $726 billion going to health, labor, education, and in the pensions committee, with a priority in spending for pre-K 3 and 4-year-olds, childcare for working class families, tuition-free community college, and funding for historically Black colleges and universities, and expansion on that Pell Grant. And y'all know who went to college, that Pell Grant is crucial, right? We'll also see some spending in $107 billion for the Judiciary Committee, including instructions to address lawful permanent status for qualified immigrants. That is a yes, 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 all the day is long. There's also some spending, $135 billion for the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry. I think we have another overlay for that. Okay, let me back up a little bit. So $332 billion for Banking Committee, including instructions on how to invest in public housing trust funds, which we do a lot of work here on housing trust funds. Increasing affordable housing, and equity and community land trust. So that's huge, you guys, so huge. $198 billion for the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, and $135 billion for the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry, including instructions to address forest fires, reduce carbon emissions, and address drought concerns. All really good spending, Mike Davis. What are your thoughts on this budget framework?
I mean, first of all, this is what we need. And I say we because these are things that would actually go towards the people. So like, I can't go against any of that. And if you read between the lines of some of that stuff, like when you talk about the money that went towards agriculture and forestry and nutrition, that's also the place where your student lunch budget comes from, so that's stuff that will go to kids. On top of that, I don't know if y'all caught it, but that there's some information on the climate that just came out that makes it look like we're doomed. So putting money towards climate infrastructure and actually trying to do something to save the environment is really important as well. I'm glad to see it pass, but I really want to send this back your way and just, how likely is this to actually be able to continue? Because from what I've read, we're going to need every single Democrat to be on board. The Republicans have already said they're not going to be down for it, particularly the senators in West Virginia and Arizona who tend to go against Democrats all the time. How likely do you think that this is to pass as is?
Well, I think what we also see is that on August 23rd, legislators are going to come back from recess early so that they can come back in session to make some amendments to this current framework, right? And so I think there's going to be some negotiations on the table. Obviously, this is not going to be as is. Nothing ever comes as is. Never see that happen. And so I believe that people are going to come back on August the 23rd and get started in trying to make some negotiations. So there's going to be some give and take, but I think the best thing is that we are seeing the arrow moving in the right direction. Also, that's going to come at the beginning of September is going into voting rights. And so I think we're going to see a lot of Democratic lawmakers making changes to some of the legislation that they feel is against people's right to vote. So it's gonna be a heavy fall season, and we're gonna have a lot to talk about for sure.
We will. But I will say, I mean, just to your point, yes, there is always give and take. But if we have to have give and take, this is a really good place to start those negotiations. This is a place where, you know, it's not corporate, it's not a bunch of money getting thrown towards people that don't need it. This is actually targeting the American people and, more importantly, families as well as the environment. So this really is a good place to start. I think Democrats are doing themselves a service by writing in that, like, this is spread out over 8 years. So it's not like they're saying we're going to take 3.5 trillion and just spend it right now. Like, it's spread out over time. I think that that's going to help some of the more moderate Democrats who might not want to see all of this spending happen. So I think they're doing a fairly good job. I'm always hesitant to say that, but that's how it feels right now. But like you said, we'll keep our eyes on this and we'll keep everybody updated because this is really important. So I'm sure we'll follow up.
Absolutely. And you guys drop us something down in the comments if you like us to break down some of these bills. I think it's super important that we get down to kind of the baseline for us to be able to understand how these bills and what all of this stuff means for us. Oftentimes we hear on, the cable news channel, some big words, a lot of, political jargon, and we want to be able to feed you the information in a way that you can go back and tell your friends and family about. So drop us down in the comments below. Let us know how that works out. Also happening, y'all, is the Florida governor is saying that school leaders, their salary may be withheld if they require masks. Y'all, this is absolutely crazy, but not shocking coming from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So as the majority of Florida's K through 12 schools head back to school and prepare to reopen campuses at full capacity, despite the Delta variant, the highly transmittable Delta variant, you got Governor Ron DeSantis announcing to the State Board of Education that if they go against his mandate that says that mask mandates are not to be implemented, that he's going to come for that paycheck. That's crazy.
That is crazy. I'm sorry. I'm only laughing because Dora called him DeSatan. I can't go against what she's saying right now. This is crazy to me. I'm all for the rights of the people. Everybody knows that's always been my stance. I mean, get vaccinated or don't. The choice should be yours. But this right here, there's just no way that you can defend this, especially in Florida. I mean, I'm looking at my notes right now because I've been reading a lot about Florida lately. So on the heels of hearing that he is literally forcing schools to operate full capacity, no masks, I seen a report yesterday that Florida hospitals have requested hundreds of ventilators because they're running out because of the COVID cases. The New York Post just ran a story as well saying that there's one Florida county that has started asking people to try to call 911 a little bit less because their hospitals are overrun. So just, don't call 911 unless you absolutely have to. And then, NPR just ran a story about how the Delta variant is just running rampant all throughout the South, and Florida is one of the hardest hit states. So I don't understand how you can pair all of that information. You got your hospitals filling up. You got very, very low vaccination rates all through your state, and you're bending over backwards to make sure that kids don't wear masks at school. I mean, how do I not refer to him as the Satan at this point?
Listen, the Satan is, he continues to rear his ugly head. I mean, I'm shocked but not surprised, like I mentioned before. I guess I just don't understand why his energy is so high pressed on this. You're not here's my issue with this, Mike. Children under the age of 12 cannot receive the vaccine. And so what you're saying is that they can't get the vaccine, and you are basically telling them that they are not required to wear a mask. And the virus is even more contagious than it was last year. I just don't understand why we are reopening schools so quickly and allowing students to go back to school. I think it was reported even as of Sunday that 135 children in Florida were hospitalized with coronavirus. And we're seeing the numbers in children get higher and higher. Even in my group chat just hours ago, we heard that students in the first week of school, that there are students that have tested positive for the coronavirus and pass it along to other students. And so there's already like 10 to 15 students that have to quarantine in the first week of school. So what gives him the authority, the right, the wherewithal to be able to say that a superintendent, we're going to withhold that check if they implement a mask mandate to protect students? It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. And you hit on like him having the right and him having the authority. And it's like, you don't need your governor to make mandates for your school districts. Like school districts, they typically are able to run themselves. I mean, you have a superintendent, you have school boards. Like these people are able to run their facilities on their own. So having the governor overstep, especially in a situation like this, it's working against public health. And I'm all for personal choice, but what is the cost? And what is the benefit? Like I see no benefit to forcing students to not wear masks. It just doesn't really add up. And I don't understand what his motives are. And I mean, it's going to be interesting. I've also seen reports coming from the South of school districts that remove the option for virtual learning, and they've already had to reoffer it because they had so many kids quarantining that there wasn't even kids in classrooms left to come to school. So it's like, I mean, everything is right there in front of your face. You got to be responsible at some point, you would think.
So before we move on, I want to switch gears and kind of keep the topic the same. Troy TV mentioned, did you see the Seattle Public School Superintendent is urging Inslee to make teachers get vaccinated? This issue has come up often in that, even Mayor Muriel Bowser, DC's mayor, is now requiring that DC contractors, DC government employees, and I also believe teachers who work in DC public schools have a requirement to be vaccinated before the end of September. What are your thoughts on in states making it mandating that these individuals get vaccinated?
Well, first, I would say to our viewers who are not here that Governor Inslee, King County Executive Dow Constantine, and Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin this week did come out and announce that in Washington, if you work for the state government, if you work for the King County government, or if you work for the city of Seattle, you are required to get vaccinated by October 18th or face termination. So we're living through what you're saying right now. And I think that that's what kind of sparked the conversation about the school district. We're saying if all city employees have to be vaccinated or face termination, then should teachers get rolled into that? And this is a really tough one for me. And I because on one hand, I think it's wrong. I do not think that your employer should be able to do that. But on another hand, I mean, there have been Supreme Court rulings in the past where employers have been able to force employees to get vaccinated. Like there is precedent at the Supreme Court level for employers being able to do that. So I do think that the city is going to be able to push that forward. I think where my concern is just, I mean, people should have some sort of choice. I mean, it's tough, and I'm vaccinated, but I wouldn't want to see people being fired and losing their livelihood over the choice, especially when with the city of Seattle, I don't know that it's 100% safety. I feel like some of it is economic. I think our mayor is compelled to try to reboost our downtown economy. And I think the easiest way for her to do so would be to make sure that city workers come back to work. And the easiest path to bringing city workers back to work is obviously going to be trying to vaccinate the whole entire workforce. Then you can bring everybody back. Then you can stimulate that downtown economy. I don't know if we should infringe on people's personal choice with their health just to boost the downtown economy.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I think a lot of our viewers are kind of torn in the comments on one side, you know, especially for those of us who are vaccinated, we are pro-vaccine, and we're saying, guess what? I got vaccinated. It was, you know, my due diligence. I don't want to infect anybody, and I don't want to die from infection. And so it's tough because I don't know if I necessarily believe that it should be a mandate. However, on the same coin, I'm also thinking about, you know, teachers have a large interaction with our children, and thinking about that vulnerable population who don't have a choice to get vaccinated if they are under the age of 12. And so there obviously does need to be some requirement there. I mean, we're in a different day and time. You know, this is just where we're at. And so we never thought that the coronavirus would be this deadly. We never thought that it would be this infectious. And it just is what it is right now. You know, we were inside for a year. And as we prepare to, you know, come out of this pandemic, there just are there's new rules. You know, this is a part of the new normal. And maybe that means that people just need to get vaccinated. And maybe this is the only way that will make individuals do that. And so,
yeah, can I just say, Mama Walden just dropped that case in the chat, so y'all should check that out. But I mean, I just want to follow up on your point, because as a parent, I am kind of leaning towards teachers being vaccinated, because the vaccines are not available to children under 12. So if kids go to school, they have no choice but to be around that teacher. Now, if kids were able to be vaccinated, you know, I don't expect teachers to get vaccinated for chickenpox. They can or they can't. That's their choice. Right. But I would say for like the city of Seattle, for example, man, like we're all adults. We're adults. We're going to work. If you want to be vaccinated, you can be. That's me. I'm vaccinated. I don't really have a problem working next to someone who isn't. And I think that we're seeing a disservice to a lot of communities right now, because, you know, when you hear about like the breakthrough cases, or you hear like there's waves of breakthrough cases in Massachusetts and here and there, that's kind of flipping the numbers backwards. Because if you look at the amount of people who are actually vaccinated, and then you look at the amount of breakthrough cases reported, it's like less than 1% of the vaccinated population actually gets COVID. For the most part, if you get vaccinated, you're going to be okay. And if you get COVID, you're not even going to have symptoms. So for adults going to work, get vaccinated or not, it should be on you. But I absolutely think that we should protect the children, and while they can't be vaccinated, I do think it would make sense for teachers to be vaccinated.
And we'll end on that point, y'all. So let's go ahead. We'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a few different pardons of some protesters. It's a lot to talk about. Stay tuned. Hey, y'all, this is Julia Jessie of Converge Media.
And I'm Mike Davis of the South Seattle Emerald.
And together, we host Clapback Culture every Thursday night at 7 p.m. right here on Converge Media.
And as y'all know, we've done a lot of coverage of the vaccine on our show. And we've both shared our experiences about getting vaxxed.
We are here to let you know that in the state of
Keep in mind that there is no cost for the COVID-19 vaccine. This also means that you don't need to have medical insurance, so don't let that stop you.
You can get more information and resources by visiting kingcounty.gov/COVID.
If you're more comfortable speaking to a live person, you can call 206-477-3977.
The hotline is especially good for those in our community who may need translation services.
Or to set up an in-home vaccination appointment for themselves or someone they know that might not be comfortable at a vaccination site due to a disability, anxiety, or other reasons, or just to be connected to other resources.
Here in King County, the COVID vaccine is accessible and available. The summer is here, and we know you want to be outside. So let's celebrate the summer safely by getting vaxxed. That obviously, you guys, is the most convincing PSA that you can find. So let's celebrate the summer safely by getting vaxxed. Listen, you guys, it's pretty funny. But hopefully we encourage some of you guys to get vaccinated. It's just not that big of a deal. But moving forward, Missouri Republican Governor Mike Parson announced pardons for Patricia and Mark McCloskey, the St. Louis homeowners who pointed guns at protesters near their home last summer. Let's take a quick look.
We have an update this morning on this couple you're about to see. Remember them? The ones in St. Louis who were waving guns at peaceful protesters marching past their home last summer? Well, they've now been pardoned. The governor of Missouri, a Republican, announcing he has now made good on his promise to do just that. Patricia and Mark McCloskey's lawyer tells the AP they believe the pardon vindicates their conduct. Mr. McCloskey himself has said he would do it again after pleading guilty a few months ago to a misdemeanor charges. He's also running for U.S. Senate. MSNBC legal analyst Danny Cevallos is with us. Danny, the couple did not face any prison time, right? So what's your takeaway from this?
It shows that the pardon power itself is something that is an inconsistent piece of American history, in that it gives the power to a governor or the president, whoever the executive is, to undo all the work of his own executive branch. In other words, prosecutors who fall within the executive branch. So the pardon power has always been controversial because it allows a governor or a president to wave his or her hand and just undo all the work of a prosecution that was premised on probable cause and proven beyond a reasonable doubt, either by guilty plea or a jury.
Child, let this have been me or you or somebody with some brown and black skin. You could never, ever. Mike Davis, what are your thoughts on this craziness?
I mean, the fact that they just got to get off, that's enough. I mean, let me be clear. The protesters were marching to protest the mayor of St. Louis, who had decided that she was going to release the names and address of people who were standing up for police reform. So if they knew that you wanted police reform, they was going to give your name and address probably to a bunch of people like the McCloskeys. So that part. But the part that stands out to me is that Mark McCloskey is running for U.S. Senate. And not only is he running for Senate, he's campaigning on this. Like, and Cuddy can drop the link to his campaign page, but it's literally the big picture of him and his wife with the guns that they're pointing at the protesters. So of course he said that he would do it again and that he stands by this. He's running a whole campaign based on this. And it's just crazy, the platforms that these Republicans are running on right now. They're running on the platforms of getting your kids sick, waving guns. You know, you got like Ted Cruz out here going against masks in schools while his own kids go to a school where everybody wears masks. It's like, y'all Republicans, you need to check your leadership because they are not living the lives that they're feeding to their people. But I just wanted to put this here just to let people know that he's running for Senate. He just might win, and he's running on the platform of being able to wave guns at protesters.
And guess what? He may win, as Dora said. Tracy says that he should be charged with violating people's civil rights. He was
Absolutely.
actually charged after he pled guilty to fourth-degree assault and faced a $750 fine, while his wife pleaded guilty to second-degree harassment and faced a $2,000 fine. So $2,750 for the couple. And he used his notoriety to parlay himself into a U.S. Senate seat. So,
well, I'll also point out too, though, that they were going to lose their rights to have guns because of the governor's pardon. Now they get to have guns again. So, congratulations, y'all. Be careful out there.
Yeah, they win. Honestly, this is a straight win for them. I mean, I don't know anyone who can just go outside brandishing a weapon in front of hundreds of people who are, I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah.
If you or me went outside and just brandished a weapon in front of our neighbors even by accident, right? If you were just outside and you were like, oh, I'm going to show my homeboy my new firearm, right? Because I know that you're like a pro firearm person. So if you decided like, hey, I just want to, show my new gun off, you'd be locked up somewhere. It would be a straight violation, but they are clearly using their firearms in a threatening manner. So it's absolutely ridiculous that they were pardoned. I think this is an abuse to the entire pardon rule. And he actually will stand a chance to win a seat in the U.S. Senate, y'all. There's going to be people that are crazy enough to vote for him.
Absolutely, yes. They voted for Marjorie. People vote for him.
Yeah, Natasha is saying we better wake up and educate ourselves and vote. Yeah, people are going to vote, and that's the thing. People on both sides of the aisle are voting, baby. It's like everybody's getting out there and activating their vote, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But let's spin the story a little bit. This is our doing it for the culture section. I think the power creator Courtney Kemp deserves a round of applause, y'all, as she signs an overall deal with Netflix. So congratulations to Courtney Kemp. She, like I said, she is the mastermind behind Power. And she signed a 4-year deal to create a new series and other projects for a global audience through her end of episode banner. Y'all, I think that's such a dope organization name. And based on her success of these other projects for the streaming service, she is reportedly has the possibility of making not 6, not 7, but 8 figures. So shout out to you, Courtney.
Yes.
Like, this is a win for you, sis. She was also reported saying, Mike, and I'll give it back to you. She says, I am incredibly excited to join the Netflix family and to continue to develop the kind of entertainment that End of Episode is known for. Diverse, multilingual, watercolor, social media fueled series that's packed a serious punch. I am looking forward to working with Bella and her team, who really appreciate the voice and perspective that we bring to the table.
That's what's up. Congratulations to her. I thought it was also dope too. Like, I know she must got some juice because they didn't even pull her away from Power. Because Power got like 3 spinoffs, and she still gets to work on all of those as well. So yeah, she gets to
remain the executive producer. And so I was like, what is an overall deal? So y'all, an overall deal is an agreement between a creator and the studio, where the studio financially compensates their creator and their company to then own their ideas and create while under this deal. Anything that's created and pitched, even if they don't take it, it's still owned by that studio and that studio owns it and cannot be shopped somewhere else. So even if the studio passes on the project, it's like she can't do anything with it. However, Netflix is an incredible platform. I know that, years ago it was under scrutiny for not having such a wide scope, casting a wide scope for Black and brown creators and performers. But I think we've definitely seen their cultural competency scale up a level for sure. I'm loving the content that comes out of Netflix right now.
Yeah, same here. I follow a couple of people on Twitter, Black people that work for Netflix in like the creative department. So like, Netflix is doing big things, and this is a really, really big deal. I know she's going to create something dope for all y'all that love Power. It's still there. She's still going to be a part of it. So, man, she gets her cake and she's eating it too. That's a win.
Cool. So can I cancel my subscription to Stars?
Oh, you're going to leave Stars now?
I mean, I'm not paying for both. I can't pay for Netflix and Stars. I just bought a house. Like, the budget is tight, Mike Davis. The budget is tight. Look, y'all, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, y'all know I could not resist. We got to clap back at Governor Andrew Cuomo and talk about his new resignation. It's all in the pipeline. Stay tuned.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
Oh, we're back. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Clap Back Culture, where we clap back at almost anything, y'all. So it's not a news story. It is a reoccurring story. I think Governor Andrew Cuomo has been coming under fire since early this year when it came out that he underreported the data of deaths for nursing homes in the state of New York. And then following that, things started spiraling out of control. He came out with that $5 million book deal. I don't think people like that. And so after all of the praise that he got for handling COVID so well, it comes out that 11 women have accused him of sexual harassment and maybe even assault. So we're going to give you both sides of this story.
Let's start with the overlap.
We never got it. Cuddy, are you back from vacation yet, Cuddy? We're going to come for you. So look, after these allegations came out, New York governor, he resigned after these harassments, and he was kind of pushed into resignation because they were talking about they were going to impeach him. So let's talk about what happened first. So AG Letitia, James came out and said this. Or maybe
these interviews and pieces of evidence reveal a deeply disturbing yet clear picture. Governor Cuomo sexually harassed current and former state employees in violation of both federal and state laws. The Independence investigation found that Governor Cuomo sexually harassed multiple women, many of whom were young women, by engaging in unwanted groping, kisses, hugging, and by making inappropriate comments. Further, the governor and his senior team took actions to retaliate against at least one former employee for coming forward with her story, her truth. And Governor Cuomo's administration fostered a toxic workplace that enabled harassment and created a hostile work environment where staffers did not feel comfortable coming forward with complaints about sexual harassment due to a climate of fear and given the power dynamic.
She's a powerful speaker too. So it was that came out like she was the judge, the jury, and the executioner, baby. I mean, she came out like those were true facts. Okay.
I wouldn't want to face her in court.
No, I don't want to. And so here's what Cuomo had to say about it, a little bit of what he said.
Straight to embattled New York Governor Andrew Cuomo delivering remarks right now. First time we've heard from him since the allegations were made of sexual harassment.
The Attorney General did a report on complaints made against me by certain women for my conduct. The report said I sexually harassed 11 women. That was the headline people heard and saw and reacted to. The reaction was outrage. It should have been. However, it was also false. My lawyers, as you just heard from Rita Glavin, have reviewed the report over the past several days and have already raised serious issues and flaws that should concern all New Yorkers. Because when there is a bias or a lack of fairness in the justice system, it is a concern for everyone, not just those immediately affected. The most serious allegations made against me had no credible factual basis in the report. And there is a difference between alleged improper conduct and concluding sexual harassment. Now, don't get me wrong. This is not to say that there are not 11 women who I truly offended. There are. And for
All right, y'all. So that's a little bit of both sides of the story. I think it's very important that we hear what the allegations are and then how Governor Cuomo responded. Mike, I'm going to let you take the lead on this first. Who do you believe and what are your thoughts?
Taking a side on this one is interesting. Originally, I thought he was guilty, to be honest, but that was only because it seemed like his first defense was that he was Italian. Like, when he first came out, everything that he said was just all wrong. It was just, oh, I'm Italian, I hug and I kiss everybody. But then when A.G. James dropped that report, it's like, nah, man, you was groping breasts and stroking spines, and like, it was just a lot. And, it's always hard when you go from a situation of he said, she said to a situation of he said, she said, she said, she said, she, and you know what I'm saying? It's like the Bill Cosby thing. It goes on and on and on and on and on. We got 11 women. That's a lot of women to all be accusing you of the same type of things. And, there's plenty of Italian guys out there who are not getting charged with sexual misconduct. I'm inclined. It doesn't look good for him. Let me just say that. I mean, I guess some more facts will come out, but if he was truly innocent, I just don't think that he would have stepped down. I think that there was a lot of other things that you had mentioned that seemed like it might have already toppled him, but he rolled all of that out from like the state funds on his book and the misreporting the COVID death, like all of that stuff. He stuck it out, but this is the time that he decided to step down. I would say that doesn't look good for him. I would say that 11 women doesn't look good for him. And I would say 11 stories that all sound extremely similar. None of this looks good for him.
Yeah, I think you took the safe route on that. And I think, unfortunately, what happens in this climate right now, and especially, post the Me Too movement, is that we're almost uncomfortable and scared to say how we really feel. I listened to this, and a part of it is I agree. You do hear 11 similar stories, but I think we could all come up with a similar story on like, oh yeah, that kind of made me feel like this, or this kind of made me feel like that. I think my issue in all of this is that these are allegations and they have not been concluded and found factual. And we are so quick to make people make a decision based on an accusation that we never follow it all the way through. I mean, there used to be a time where people would have to go on trial, where things would have to be concluded, that a report was made, and then those bases had to be proved. And we're following this new guideline of public opinion. And I think we have to stop doing that. However, on the contrary, and I see it in the comments, a lot of men in power have been known to feel entitled. And we saw that in, with Donald Trump saying, you can do anything with a woman, you can grab her by the fill in the blank here. And so this is a culture toxicity that we do see of men in power, and oftentimes even women in power, and we see them abusing that power and in asserting themselves in situations to make women feel uncomfortable. And so I kind of stand on no side in this situation, but I feel that just because it's an accusation doesn't make it fact. And so we have to, really figure out, how do we go about this moving forward?
I think you're right, and you're damn right. I took the safe route. I'm not about to just be the journalist out here, just But,
I get it.
But what I will say is this, though, and again, like, look, I'm not a woman, obviously, so like, I would defer to you on this. But what I would say is, and just in conversations that I've had with women as all this stuff plays out, is that there's a lot of creepy dudes out here, and there's a lot of creepy guys, and there's a lot of dudes who be at work and they overstep their boundaries all the time. And what it sounds like to me is that a lot of women just kind of learn to live with it. The fact that the women came forward is the reason why I take pause, because him, like a guy putting his hand on the small of your back, or, he kissed her cheek. Like, sometimes dudes do weird stuff like that. And women don't always report it because there's so many creeps out here that do that type of stuff. The fact that 11 women felt the need to come forward makes me feel that this was a little bit more than just the normal creepy. That's all I'm saying. But again, that doesn't mean that he's guilty. Definitely, I would like to hear more evidence. I mean, I rolled with Bill Cosby longer than a lot of y'all did. So like, I'm definitely like a wait for the facts guy. But it just doesn't really look good right now.
I think we get into what is acceptable in the workplace, and it's sad that we've gotten so rigid in the workplace that you can't even say to your colleague, like, wow, you look really great today. Or imagine you say, wow, you look really beautiful. And someone taking that as sexual harassment. We're still human beings, and a part of us want to connect with one another. Imagine just, you have someone, touch the top of your shoulder, and it's like, man, you're, don't be stressed out. The human touch, not even being comfortable to touch your colleague. And I think you're right, Mike. You know when someone has crossed that line. When someone is saying something that's not okay. But to say like, oh, hey, hon, how are you? Or as women, we always say, hey, boo, hey, sis. And so I just think that I don't want to see the culture change so much where we can't be ourselves and we don't have that interpersonal relationship. And I think if you don't have a relationship with your colleague or you are in a position of authority, that you do need to be mindful of your conduct. But I think that, Cuomo is probably pretty relaxed. He is kind of weird by saying, touching people on the stomach. I mean, I don't know anybody whose gesture is to touch you on the stomach. Like, don't touch my stomach, bruh. Like, don't touch my stomach. Don't even touch my stomach to be playing. Like, even Rodney knows I don't like that. Don't touch. Just don't. That's not.
Dude, who's out here touching stomach? Like, that's weird to me.
That's weird. That's weird. Don't touch my stomach. But I don't think it's weird if you shake someone's hand or you kiss someone's hand. I mean, it's kind of gross too, though. Like, I don't want anybody kissing my hand. But if someone does that, I'm also not going to be like, ooh, he sexually harassed me. Right?
Somebody kisses my girl's hand at work, I might run up on. Like, don't put your lips. Nah, no, that's not happening. So, but I mean,
what if it's a woman? What if it's a woman who kissed your girl's hand?
Why are you trying to get me in trouble, Julia? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to?
I guess
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
I'm looking out for my men. I'm looking out for some of the men who aren't creeps, who are just genuinely like, maybe their love language is, touch, right? And so
don't be doing love language at work. Don't be doing love language to my girl. You do love language to your. I don't know, man. Look, I get what you're saying though, and it is unfortunate that we are in a society right now where everything is offensive. Everybody is offended. It's like there are people who legit feel like we're just walking on eggshells, and it shouldn't be like that. I just feel like you have to have a better awareness and more connection with the people around you. So like when I think about myself at work, for example, there's definitely women at work who I will compliment, but there's also women at work who I might not, because we don't have that type of connection. So like, I wouldn't want like one of our first interactions to be like me commenting on you looking nice today. But people that I'm cool with and we have that relationship, for sure I'm gonna notice when you get your hair done. For sure I'm gonna notice when you wear something new, of course, and I'm gonna comment. So like, and I think that's part of the reason too why it kind of hits me like that, because I'm like that. I compliment women a lot. And I'm not out here getting complaints though. So when there are dudes that are, it just makes me feel like, man, what are you really doing? Because there's a lot of us out here that are able to interact with women and comment and do all of those things, and it's not a problem. So why are you a problem?
I agree with that. I think it's very important to have a relationship with people in the workplace before you decide to pass out these open-ended compliments. It's definitely for sure, because I know there's some people in my office that if they told me I look nice, I would be like, ew, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't look at me, right? But that person is a creep, and so they give off creep vibe. But I think we as women, we as human beings kind of understand when someone's a little bit off, a little bit socially awkward, a little bit kind of strange, and it gives off that creepy vibe. But let's transition a little bit, right? We're talking about Cuomo and him being in a position of power and leadership and authority.
Extreme power.
And with that being said, I do feel that he is being held to a different standard and should be held to a different standard. Again, I'll restate that my only issue with this is that he's resigning because he didn't want to be impeached. He's not resigning because he's saying that these things are true. And I don't think, here's Tracy, which office? And I don't think it's fair that we have created this environment where public opinion has now the final say. And so that's my only issue with it. And I'm not saying that these allegations are not factual, because I don't know them to be true or untrue. But I'm saying at this point, they are only accusations. And so
I agree.
I just don't think it's fair moving forward that we allow that to kind of skew our judgment. Now, do you think he's going to run again for governor?
No.
No, he's done.
No, I think he's done as governor, but I also think that he's a Cuomo. I think he'll be fine. He'll do something else. But I mean, and governor of New York means something different. Like, he wasn't the governor of Montana. He was the governor of New York. There's a lot of power that comes along with that. So he might get another job in government for sure. I just don't think that it'll be at that level.
I don't think anything will happen after this either. I think he resigned. I think it's not going to be as a big deal as the media is reporting it to be. There are people that absolutely love him and love the entire Cuomo family. Exactly. He's going to find his seat at a different table. So I don't see this being a big deal. Dr. Jackson says he will be Marion Barry and he will be back. Do you guys think he'll be back? Drop below in the comments if you guys think he'll be back. Drop below in the comments if you think he did sexually harass all of these women.
Man, I think Dr. Jackson says she thinks he's innocent.
Oh.
I'm going to run with Dr. Jackson on this one. She said it, not me.
Nari Jackson, New York is a good old boys club. He will be fine.
For sure.
And he's got that Italian spirit behind him too. Listen, I really honestly don't think anything's going to happen after this. He stepped down. Someone else will take his place. He's got a cute another 12 days before he actually has to leave office. Look at room 11 versus 1. So
I mean,
Andrew, so you think that So Andrew, I'm going to ask you this specifically. So now that these allegations have come out, what do you think? Do you think he deserves due process, or do you think it's just in his position that he should have stepped down?
That's a great question. And look, Andrew, please put your answer in the chat, but I think he should have got due process. I really do. Like, I really do. And I don't want to get too far in it because I'm not trying to get myself in hot water, but
right.
I do, especially when it's, I'm going to just leave it at that. He should have got due process.
Troy TV brings up a good point. To be honest, I didn't realize a lot of things were sexual assault, i.e. harassment, until recent years. I would agree. However, Andrew Cuomo does know about sexual harassment because
he should know.
Entire piece of legislation around it.
So and he came out hard on Harvey Weinstein as well. Like when Weinstein was going through all of that, man, Cuomo was riding pretty hard for him to turn around and end up in this situation. But I do think Troy makes an extremely valid point. Sexual harassment has shifted. There is definitely a lot of things that have gotten swooped under that umbrella that there was a time when that stuff was just life in the office.
Listen, it's one of those situations, I think, where he's in a position of authority. I also think that he's also used to women kind of following suit to him, and men following suit to him, and people kind of being like, oh, that's Governor Cuomo, right? And that power, that having that air when people move and shift in a room, it makes you feel, I think, a little bit disconnected. You have that fame, right? And so people treat you like a celebrity, and as a celebrity, you respond like a person that's a celebrity, and you may not notice that your actions are inappropriate. And because you are a celebrity, I think people are also kind of ticking like what happened during their experience. And so that's not to say it's right or wrong, but I'm saying I do believe that there is probably a sense of him really not knowing that he did something that was inappropriate or made somebody feel uncomfortable in particular situations. And we'll see. I mean, he's already resigned. He stepped down. It is what it is at this point.
I got one quick question for you. And you might not even have the answer. I'm just curious. Why is it that he got all of this pressure and like he was facing impeachment and all of this, but like this guy, Matt Gaetz, seems like he's sliding? Because Matt Gaetz, like he's accused with actual crimes. He's accused of paying minors for sex and like flying them around the country to other countries. Like that just feels a lot more serious than what.
And there's receipts for Matt Gaetz.
His homie has flipped.
And that's not just sexual harassment. That's sexual misconduct.
Trafficking. There's a lot of things.
He's got receipts. But listen, that's a whole nother can of worms, child. That's a whole nother can of worms.
It's just weird to me that he's sliding. Okay, it's cool. That will be back. So we will have our day because that ain't going nowhere. They're trying to send him that man.
It's not. Well, look, y'all, we have to wrap our show, unfortunately. I'm really glad that this clapback generated a lot of comments. I see y'all are out here. We appreciate you always tuning in to Clapback Culture. Mike, when you're not here, where can they find you?
South Seattle Emerald. You can find me at the Emerald. You can also find me on Twitter at Real M Davis.
Okay,
my light's killing me tonight. I don't know what's up.
And I am Julia Jessie. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Treasure of JULES. Please pull up and follow me. And y'all, that's our show tonight. We're glad to be back. We will be back next week. Same time, same place. I'll be in this yellow chair, y'all. Don't worry about it. It might go have better lighting.
Hopefully.
All right, y'all. We appreciate you. Clap back. Peace.